Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Al Richards here with my lovely assistant, Lori Warburton, Lady in Red, first responder. Welcome to the other side of addiction. Hey, I hope everybody has a great Monday and your week is starting off with a smile. We've got a great guest here today with us, and I'm excited that he's on the show. My friend JD and I, we met, oh my gosh, a couple years ago. It was definitely before COVID, so it had to be 2019. We met at a networking group, and he and I just kind of hit it off, and we decided to hook up and have a one-on-one. And when we sat down and talked, JD, I think we spoke for like about 2.5, 3 hours when we first met, wasn't it? Something like that?
Yeah. We were only anticipating maybe like an hour meeting. We ended up taking up like most of the afternoon until we had to be somewhere else.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And the reason why is because JD and I, we had a lot in common, and I think that's why you and I hit it off so quickly. So tell our audience a little bit about yourself. I mean, where did you grow up? What was your childhood like, and we'll just go from there.
Okay. So I mean, I was born and raised here in Utah, Utah County, Payson, and when I was little, I grew up, lived in a mobile home park, and I mean, life wasn't really all that bad. Life seemed pretty simple, except for the relationships that I watched go on inside the home. And that's kind of things where it started to change and develop to who I became as an adult. My mom went through 3 marriages. My biological father gave me up for adoption when I was about 9. And then a father that adopted me at 11 got really heavy into methamphetamine by the time I was 15. And then it took a toll on the whole family at that point. And then I've been all over the country, Florida, Pennsylvania, Vegas.
Amazing.
And I'm back here.
That is amazing.
I remember you telling me about JD when we met.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because we met in the same coffee shop.
Yeah, exactly. I remember.
Yeah. So you really didn't have much of a childhood then, really, because you have siblings, right?
Yeah. So I'm the oldest of 5, and with those kids, when things started to go south with the family and stuff, all I worried about was baseball and getting good grades, and we lived on a ranch, so I had to take care of the horses, water the field, do all that responsibility and stuff. And then when my adopted father decided to take the route of meth, him and my mom tried to fix things and solve things, and it took her down a bad road where I believe, and not speaking for her, but you just know, you can see it, but she went down the opioid road, and that's something that consumed her life. And so, it came to a point that I had to step up and be dad instead of being big brother. And so my last favorite memory of what I felt like I was free was my childhood vacation to Yellowstone. It was like after that, everything just hit. It was like, hey, it's time to be an adult. So I gave up on my dream of playing baseball. I wanted to go at least minors, if not professional. I played all-star, I was a hell of a pitcher. I'll brag about it because I have the proof. But I had the dream to go far in that, and it was be selfish and take that, or go be the example that my siblings needed. And so that was the choice that I had to make, and I did that. So it was kind of the glue that held the family together.
I'm proud of you for that. I had the same thing with me. I was given talents and things to use throughout my life, talent scouts following me, things like this. But you do have to, at one point, give up something because something's more important.
Right.
So.
And if I wouldn't have given it up, I think, my life would have probably gone down a different path. I could have totally, with a different mindset, I didn't want to ever be known or seen as one of those cocky, arrogant players. It's just not who I was. So
with the addiction that you said that your stepdad brought into the home, did that it spread to your mom, apparently, right, from what you're saying? Did that spread to throughout the family as well?
So it did. Both my sisters, I love them very much. One sister, she went through struggles in her life of social anxiety, depression. She battled a lot of things internally. And it seemed like medication and alcohol became something that could help numb that pain for her. And, at the beginning, it started out just, pain medicine. Instead of taking ibuprofen, was offered, take an opioid. And eventually it turned into something that consumed her. And 2 years ago, a year ago, this last December, she passed away. She's 26 years old, December 11th. Found her in her bedroom, and it was like her body and system just shut down, just the way that she was found. It wasn't on purpose. I don't believe that 100. I don't believe she did it on purpose at all.
Right.
I think she just put herself in a very bad spot, and she couldn't turn around.
Mm-hmm.
And then my other sister, bless her heart, she's gone through not so much on medical, but she has had a little alcohol and partying phase and stuff. But she recently met a guy that I went to high school with, and it has completely changed her life. She is growing up. She's finally taking care of her stuff. She actually brags about having a good credit score, like she understands this stuff. So it's
I like it.
It's something too in her life that she decided that she didn't want to go down that road and be like them. And so, also too, me and her recently were told by, this says if this is okay to talk, but I had a meeting with a medium just because some closure and stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
whether people believe in that or they don't, but clarity that me and my sister are meant to break the chain of my family. And so we're supposed to lead by the example of my two other brothers and show them a different route, and hopefully at that point, we don't play the victim card. It's if we got to handle it, we got to take care of it. Just face it, because if you start out the problems and stuff, we're going to go 10 years down the road, we're going to look back and think these problems that we had in our lives that were big, we're going to just realize how small they really were.
Wow.
I like that breaking the chain. Sorry.
No,
didn't mean to-
go ahead, Lori. Yeah.
You do. I mean, that's kind of where I was at. You have to break those chains of what is binding you. And so going back sometimes isn't always easy, but the initial problem, that's where you need to go to in order to get better
Right.
and to take accountability for yourself and all of those things. So I think that's neat how you realized it was going to be you breaking the chains. And I feel like it's like that with me too, because I had an aunt who died of alcoholism. My grandfather was an alcoholic. I have a son who's an alcoholic. And it just takes that special person to be able to endure the pain
Right.
that you have to go through sometimes to get there, right?
Yep.
So
Yep. No.
I just got chills from that. That's why I,
I
had
know.
to
I
remark.
got chills
I
too
did.
as soon as he said it. Yeah.
It's funny how that happens, and that's just telling me that there's a special spirit in the room here today, and that makes me feel good. So,
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
yeah.
Yeah. So, on that end, and then, going older too, again, started just talk.
No,
but,
that's what you're here for.
But my, my relationship and stuff, it seemed like at a younger age and stuff, I made decisions. So I had a child when I was young because it's like I was being a dad, so I might as well really be a dad, right? I guess it's not the good way to put it, but things fell into place. And so, I had a marriage, 3 kids with her, and we've got 3 beautiful kids, but we're no longer married. And then the wife that I'm with, she's battled some things with addiction, alcohol, and some other things, and we worked through it. But it was like in my head, all of a sudden, because I've molded myself to feel like I like helping people, right? I like making a difference. I want to fix things. I wanted to fix my dad. I wanted to fix my mom. I wanted to fix my sisters. And, even though it wasn't in my control, that's something I had a passion for. Well, I met my wife, and I was like, okay, wow, I'll Twitter paid it and all this stuff. And then this stuff comes out. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm JD, Mr. Fix It. I'm going to fix this, right?
Yeah.
And realized that, as time has gone on and as I've gotten older, that I can't always fix the problem. I can always be there and be a support, but not an enabler, which is something that I struggled with. It seemed like I was always the one that was like, oh, you need money? Cool. Hope, wherever it's going for, hopefully it's good, whatever the case may be. But also, too, it came to a point where just having the kids involved, and that's where it came in as me being a parent to step up and be like, I can't make decisions for you. I'm here and I love you, but understand that you're going to lose the best things in your life due to this because I can't do it anymore. And it's really changed things with my marriage. My marriage is doing a lot better, especially over the last few months. It comes to one of those points that you have to put your foot down, because at the end of the day, if you trying to fix those problems, you're going to bring yourself down. And I could see that from an outside perspective on myself, and it wasn't healthy. It wasn't doing me any favors.
Well, and with you speaking about that, my wife and I went through the same thing. When she was deep into her addiction, I mean, I've said before, I was that knight in the shining armor on my stallion or my stud, whatever you want to say, and I'm going to come and I'm going to save her. And I tried for a long, long time. And all it was doing is, I guess you could say, like, I was the cowboy and I lassoed her and I'm going to help her, but she was actually dragging me
Right.
instead of me dragging her. And it's something that took me so flippin' long to realize that I couldn't save her. And I had gotten so wrapped up with things, I wasn't even saving myself. So how can I help somebody that I love and I care about so much if I can't even love and care about myself at the same time? And it's weird how different things will change stuff. I was playing golf with a gentleman a couple of weeks ago, and his daughter was an addict and an alcoholic. And we were talking on one of the tee boxes, and I said, so, I understand your daughter's better now, and what did it? And he said, hard love. Hard love. And he started telling me some of the things that he did with the hard love. Some of the things he did for his daughter, I did the same thing with my wife. And I said, Jan, that's cool. I'm glad that worked. But I tried that. It didn't work on my end. It's like pissing fuel on the fire because it just made it worse.
Right.
And I said, I think that's where things are different. I tried that hard love for all those years. And I was asked recently on a class thing that I was on, a Zoom class, and somebody said, well, how well did that work out for you? Well, it didn't work in 7 years.
Right.
Apparently it didn't work out very good.
Well, again, I think that because going back, it's for the person who's suffering inside. Like you were at one time and you were in a different level, right? But your wife's experiencing things that she hasn't really dealt with, and she probably doesn't want to do that. You know what I mean? And so it's very difficult, but you have to be strong enough to go back and look at that so that you can get help and get healthy for where you are today, And so I understand what you guys are saying, but on the side of addiction, right? Trying to get always to the other side. That's what this is for.
Yeah.
For help. I just feel like that's the key. It's the key to understanding your life, what you've been through, and going back to all of that, if you will, and holding accountability and just being able to remember your entire life. Because there's times in my life I blocked out, and then I started having flashbacks and different things in my later 20s and 30s because I shoved it so far back, you know what I mean? So it does affect every decision you make in your life, when you can catch it early and you can help, like you've done, with your siblings and that kind of thing. I think it's good, because you know where it came from. Right.
Yeah. So what do you guys feel about like surrendering? So I know in AA you hear the saying, let go, let God. Okay? And in AA also they say believe in God or your higher power, whatever that may be for that individual. I believe what really helped me a lot with a lot of the stuff that was going on is I finally did surrender. And for guys, it's hard for us to ask for help, right? Because like you say, we are bred to be the fixers, and we're supposed to be there, and we're supposed to be the strong ones. And really, I think it's starting to change a little bit where, I don't know if I should I don't know if this is the right way of saying it, but this is just how I'm seeing it. That's how a real man, I believe, should go, to be able to ask for help. Now, I still suck at asking for directions. Ask my wife. I still have a hard time with that. But as far as asking for help with other things, and I knew I could not do this by myself anymore. So, especially in your position, being where you were at, knowing that your siblings needed you, your mom needed you, you had to step up to the plate. I can't imagine the pressure that was on you to do that at such a young age. You're supposed to be being a teenager and having fun and, chasing girls and doing what all of us teenagers do. But did you ever find a point where you had to surrender, where you just said, you know what, I can't do this by myself, and maybe I don't have somebody that's here on this earth to help me, but maybe somebody else where, hey, lead me down the right direction?
Yes and no. Surrendering at a young age, I did ask for help from family and some friends, and held an intervention. And at that point, I was just the 17-year-old kid that was thought of like I didn't know what I was talking about. You know what I mean? That was something that was really hard for me because I was trying to make a difference and change and help what was going on. And again, from those people that I loved, but they still just looked at me like I was the one that was crazy about it. And that I do not take lightly, to be called out as a liar or dishonest. Like, that's something that infuriates me. Like, I will beeline it to solve the issue. You know what I mean? Like, if somebody said something that goes through the pipeline, you know how stories get twisted. You know, I will go to the first person that started that story first, and then we'll go together and straighten this out. Because I don't do very well with that. You know, because there's no reason. Because again, it goes back to the things of addiction, and talking about that submission. But I think also too on the submitting side of myself, you know, we want to talk about the other sides of addiction, which again, Al and what was your name again? Lori. Mm-hmm. You know, obviously the different sides that we've all been on here. You know, and something as you were talking, Al, I realized something that we're wanting to be this fixer, but as their addictions are different, so is ours. Our addiction was to fix it. Our addiction was to be the healer and the savior, and we were addicted to it. You know, how are we?
Another thing I think you get addicted to, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like it's the, you know, how you get into all the turmoil and everything, like, you kind of get where I'm going with this. Mm-hmm. You kind of get addicted to all of that, too, because then you're fixing more, you're solving more, you're doing this, right?
Right.
And then all of a sudden, it's like, let's say you're starting to get more healthy, you see where things are going, and then there starts to be a quiet, and you're like, what's going on here? It feels different.
Right.
And new and kind of weird, so you're not used to that.
Right. It's like you almost have to resubmerge yourself back into it when that's not the right thing to be doing, you know, or somewhere else or whatever. But, you know, that's why, again, we're here is to break through that mold and to be able to move forward and help those that are in those moments.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but as far as submission goes, I mean, even as I've gotten older, I mean, the last submission I honestly did was a submission to 911. I was like, I'm done handling it. So we'll see what these guys do, you know?
Let the professionals take over?
Yeah, I was like, hey, you know, I mean, it was the first time ever, and it happened last year, October, but obviously involved a daughter of mine, and I was just like, hey, well, this is it. So they showed up, she showed up, and been drinking, and I was like, she's like, after you guys leave, he's just going to get mad. I was like, actually not. That's why I called him.
Wow.
So, but again, it was that eye-opener too, you know, on both ends of it. Like, I couldn't do it alone. I couldn't keep doing it alone. Those that I turned to, you know, that I had turned to, like my family and stuff, it's not like the advice, not that some of the advice they were given, but I knew in my heart that wasn't the right options either. You know, and again, for the choices that need to be made on the other side as well, it's being able to, they got to see things sometimes, you know, as any of us that have an addiction, whatever it may be, seeing it, you know, you can have your parents tell you one thing, your sister tell you one thing and stuff, but when it comes from some other party, it might hit it differently, you know?
One thing I will say, it really helps to have somebody who's gone through addictions themselves.
Right.
Right? Because I noticed that I have friends in my life that don't have that. Mm-hmm. And while I was experiencing going through new sobriety, right, I found myself like at these certain levels where I was like, oh my gosh, like, why do I feel like this? And so I'd call like my best friend, but she's not recovering, and I'll try to talk to her and she doesn't understand what I'm going through. And it was funny, I connected one day with that, and that's why people need us, right, is because one day I said, even though it felt bad to say, Jocelyn, I'm going to have to hang up from you because I need to call someone else who's been through what I've gone through. Please don't take this in the wrong way, because her and I are friends for years and years and years, but you know, you get where I'm going with
absolutely.
That, right? Yeah.
And I understand it too, because I was on that other side thinking that I knew exactly what the hell was happening. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't. And I've shared this before, and I'm going to share it again, because when my wife had a weekend visit, when she was in one of the rehabs, we were driving home, and she's telling me about all this stuff that happened in rehab, and I started being that therapist, and I still remember it like it was yesterday. She's like, for just flipping once, I wish you would be my husband instead of my therapist. Now, you think that would have hit me upside the head and made me realize it? Still, I got it at the time when she said it, but I forgot it very quickly. And when she got out this last time, 6-7 months ago, however long it was, I remember one day she was having a hard day and she called me up, and I just let her talk. And then when she was done, I'm like, I don't know what you're going through. It sounds like it's pretty bad. Do you have anybody you can call? Because I am not the right person for you to be talking to, because I'm going to end up saying something wrong, thinking I'm right, but it's not the right thing. So I'm glad you brought that up, Lori, because yes, you got to have somebody that you can call. And we've said this on the show many times. You got to have somebody, whether it can be a family member, or it cannot. It can be a friend, or it cannot. It just somebody that you can trust, that's going to be there to listen, but understands what it is that you're going through. Yeah.
And that's the difficult part. I think most often you need someone who's gone through things that nobody else could understand, and that you're willing to share with them. I mean, obviously all three of us have become willing to share this with other people. It's difficult topics and conversations, and there may be some people in your life that didn't know that you were going through this, right? Professionally speaking, and all of that. So sharing things for the first time gets scary and hard, because I did that 6-7 years ago, right? And pushing the button on that was something I was like, oh, what, on Facebook, but it's healing too. This is why we're all here. So we get healing from talking about these things and caring for others. And I'm the same way. I do anything in my power to help another person, even if it's just one, if I can make sense of what I'm saying,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you can help change one person's life for the better, that's what we're here for. We're here to do service,
Yeah. So that's one of the reasons why Lori and I wanted to do this podcast as well, because if we can share the pain and the trials and the heartache that we went through, and we can get others to open up as well. If we can save one person, and I said this on a podcast the other night, if we can save one person from digging that hole any deeper or going further into that dark hole, everything all three of us right here have gone through has made it worth it, I think. Mm-hmm. Even though back then I didn't think so. But now that we've been doing this as long as we've been doing it, which has not been a long time, but I still feel that, everything that we went through was for that reason.
It's
and that's
for
so
a
we
reason.
can reach out and hopefully help more than one person. But if it is just one person, I think we've accomplished something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, JD. So you said your other sister, it's up to you and your other sister. You said that she met somebody, started a family, and that really started kind of changing her.
And she hasn't started a family. They've been together for about a year. But anyways, I went to high school with this kid, and he's kind of, I love him. He's kind of like a hippie, but he also too he wants to he has the mindset to grow. He's just not as fast paced as I am. I'm like, let's get stuff done, and he's like, yeah, we'll just float in this boat, and I'm like, all right, I'll tug your boat along then, So, but he's just his mindset and stuff and his ability. He's been able to. Like my sister, I kind of, it is that hard love thing, or hey, we need to get stuff done, and he's approached it differently on a calm matter, and I guess it's just, personalities again are different, Me and my sister can clash heads like two bulls, where this guy, it's like trying to herd sheep, in that way. Like he's just calm. He's just really calm, and he's calm with her, and he approaches things like she'll have a moment where she'll have like an attitude, and he's like, it's okay, and she's like, I can't combat that, So he's been really good for her, but he's taken her from a place of having being this just being reckless, more or less, to she is changing into this amazing woman. I'm very, very proud of my sister. Like the change that she's done even over the last 12 months. And don't get me wrong, she still has her moments where you're like, you know.
Yeah.
We won't fly out the B word, but she can definitely, she can wear it sometimes. But she was one of those people, like, me and her just didn't have a close relationship. And over this last year and stuff, I've even talked about moving out of state for opportunities for work. And she's like, you can't do that. I started liking you. I was like, all right, you know.
Yeah.
So it's just really cool. Me and her have this connection, this bond, and we truly do see that there is this cycle going on with the house, with the other siblings and stuff. And that we need to break it. We need to show that example. We need to show that life is meant to be prosperous and abundant, and that it means something, you know. We're not just here to, you know.
I love how you said that, because I always used to feel like, you know, I'm like the one who feels I want to bring joy. I want to make people's lives better. I want to, in a way, a caretaker or what have you. But when I became sober, right, and I'm there and I'm by myself and I'm doing this, I used to think I didn't deserve certain things. Like, you know, for instance, my car I just bought, you know, not that long ago. And I mean, it took me 3 months just to decide that I've been successful throughout my life. I've worked hard. I've been 6 years by myself, 6 years sober. Like, it's okay, you know, like, we need to progress, and that's okay to do so. But I think, you know, I don't know if you've ever experienced it, but I'm very humble. And if somebody needs something more than myself, I would love to provide that for them instead. And so I felt like I didn't want to be flashy. I didn't want to be this or that. But we also deserve good things. You know, after coming out of such hard things, I mean, being in a dark place and being able to pull yourself out of that and continue to grow and move on and feel good inside. I mean, you got to be rewarded, somehow for your hard work and everything in life. So
I'm coming to that, you know. I mean, I'm not the most spiritual person, but I do believe in God, and I do believe in Jesus Christ, and you know, the things of our history and our world going on right now, things are honestly, I mean, we're not going to get into politics by no means, but it's chaos, right? Our world we live in right now is chaos. And that was, again, want to talk about submission, was submitting to God, submitting to Christ, and having an understanding. They want us here to prosper. They want us here to be abundant, to enjoy what's being provided, you know. And those that, you know, say that money's the root of all evil, I like to say this because it just means they straight up never had any, right?
Well, and it depends on what you do with it. That's where the evil part. It's not the money.
No, money is just a tool, you know, and people need to realize that money's a tool. When you have the money, you can help do things on a higher level. You're able to scale, you know, and that's another thing that people are like, why? I mean, I have a dream. I want to be a millionaire. I want to be one. And they're like, why do you want to be that? So you can have all the... I was like, I don't need no Lambo. But you know what it would do if I could go up and pay for that child's cancer treatment? You know what it could do if I could help put that person to rehab?
So see, how is money evil? Because if it's used in the right way, it's not evil. So the people who say that need to open their eyes a little bit. Yeah.
I always say it's better to cry in a BMW than it is on a bicycle. So
I like it. I love that. So guys, we're going to take a quick break right now. So JD, thank you again, and we're going to come back. So when we come back after this commercial here, is it okay if we talk about kind of where the addiction, the darkness, where it took your family? Are you comfortable with that? Okay. So guys, stay tuned for the second half, and we want to take this time right now to also thank our sponsor, High Point Coffee in West Jordan off 7800 South in Redwood Road. Those guys are phenomenal, and I know they've gotten some new customers since they have been a sponsor on our show. So I'm looking forward to the second half of this, and guys, stay tuned.
We at High Point Coffee are proud to sponsor the Other Side of Addiction podcast. If you've never heard of us, High Point is a warm and inviting little coffee house just on the corner of 7800 South and Redwood Road. Our shop has easy access drive-through, free Wi-Fi, and plenty of comfortable seating. with charging stations good for everything from studying, business meetings, or get-togethers with friends. We opened High Point's doors in November of 2007 and have been happily growing ever since. We love what we do and refer to our customers as family because that's the way you are treated here. We don't believe that anyone should walk away from our coffee house with anything less than a huge smile and a great cup of coffee. We have a full menu of options from hot lattes to top-of-the-line frappes and delicious smoothies. We are a family-oriented establishment with huge selection for kids and any non-coffee drinkers as well. We also have fresh, delicious pastries, homemade breakfast croissants, pretty much anything your heart desires. Come see us at High Point Coffee in West Jordan, on the corner of 7800 South and Redwood. We look forward to meeting you.
This is Gregory, owner of Lift Up Concrete, proudly serving the Wasatch Front for the last 12 years, lifting sunken flatwork for both residential and commercial applications. Only fully trained professionals lifting concrete at your residence with the same quality of material and method used at every commercial job we ever do. Don't replace it, lift it. liftupconcrete.net, 801-792-4535. Contact us at liftupconcrete.net, or if you're looking for a complimentary quote, 801-792-4535. Again, 801-792-4535. Again, this is Gregory, Lift Up Concrete Lifting.
Hello, my friends. This is Brad Neufeld, and I want to thank you for tuning in to the Resilience Talk Network. You can listen to my show, Resilience, every morning, Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. On my show, we will be discussing what it takes for you to overcome the day-to-day challenges that all of us face in life, as well as some of the devastating ones that may lead us to feelings of hopelessness and despair. It's my goal to provide you with the tools and skills that you need to overcome anything that is thrown your way. To find out more about my show, visit our website at www.resiliencetalk.com. That's www.resiliencetalk.com. And as always, until we meet again, go for everything that you want in life and make it happen.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the other side of addiction. We are here with our special guest, JD. And before we start, I definitely have to give a shout out to another one of our sponsors who we are so grateful to have, and that is Lift Up Concrete out of Kaysville, Utah. If you guys have sunken or settled concrete,
Give your concrete a facelift.
Give your concrete a facelift. Do you see how she said that? Yeah. Should we add a 1-800 number in with that? Call Lori for a facelift. Concrete facelift.
Just every time you say that, that's what I go to.
Hey, we'll just keep using it because it's working. Mm-hmm. Hey, and also before we get started, well, let's just get started. We'll get started on the next half of the show. So, JD, before we finished up the first half, we were going to come back and talk to you about, as you know, addiction can take a family down the dark road, right? I mean, family members, loved ones, friends, they can go down that same dark rabbit hole. Somebody told me the other day it's like the Alice in Wonderland, when Alice fell down the rabbit hole and everybody follows with it. So if you don't mind sharing, you're comfortable, where did the addiction with your mom and then your stepdad and then your sisters, I mean, where did that go? I mean, I just can't imagine having that much addiction.
Can I ask a question too? Sorry.
Yes.
But did you have an addiction yourself, right?
The only thing I've had an addiction for is honestly cigarettes. So
Okay.
that sounds bad. it's one of those habits tried to quit,
I mean-
but as far
No.
as like an actual addiction side of it, it was.
Because I wasn't sure about
Yeah,
that.
no,
so
it
you
was. I don't know. I made a decision when I was young because I watched what it did and destroyed everything around me. Yeah, it was a
Nice.
choice that, and I've had friends that fell into the rabbit hole, that their parents were into it and stuff, and they followed suit and they ended up getting wound up into it and that, and I seen what it did to them, and I was just like, oh hell no, no offense, like I did not.
No, I am so proud of you for staying strong. Because in my addictions, just touch lightly on this, I never did that because I wanted to have fun. I did it because I didn't want to feel pain.
Right.
That was it. I didn't want to feel the pain of what I wasn't supposed to say. I didn't want to feel the pain of what I was coming home to. Didn't want to feel the pain of abuse and all these different things and scary stuff.
Well,
you
don't
know?
get me wrong talking on
Yeah.
addictions and stuff, because like my sister, she did do the narcotics like she did and stuff to numb the pain. The alcohol was to numb the pain and stuff. And don't get me wrong and stuff, and be like in moments of my life that, where it's like everything around me just feels like it's falling apart, that I'm like, well, maybe it's working for them. Maybe I'll give it a shot,
Yeah, you'll have a
Yeah.
little
those
something,
moments,
something.
and
Yeah,
and
sure.
not to say, again, that I haven't had drinks and stuff before, and
No, nothing like that. Just that it didn't consume your life. It
right.
didn't
But I'm
overtake
not
it.
saying that I hadn't tried thinking about it from that side, or when things have gotten bad in my life, to be like, like, why am I doing all this? Why am I being so held against it? In when you have talked to those that, again, just like yourself, you did it to numb that pain and stuff, and it's like there's times in my life where we're having a complete breakdown. And again, as men, we don't want to have those breakdowns. We feel like it's a sign of weakness, But it was like, maybe I would hop into the bottle and stuff and see, like, not again to get perspective on it, but it's like feeling at a very low point in my own life to almost be submissive to it, to be subjected to it, and be like, maybe I'm, maybe so. But then in my back of my head, I'm like, watch what it has done. And are you willing to do that to yourself? And even more, not to put it on a bad thing, because I'm not trying to put it bad on anybody.
Absolutely.
But it was like, what would my kids think of me? And my kids have always been a very strong, solid suit. As parents, we always want better for our children, right? Well, I can't ever give my kids the reason to come back and be like, oh, Dad, you did that. So, that's always been something in my mind, because I've seen it used against parents and friends and, their families and stuff. Well, how do you answer that? Well, you did it, and I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that. I don't want to have that
For me,
conversation with my child.
You just touched on, every time you say something that resonates with me,
You get the
I
chicken skin.
I get the goosebumps or whatever. And one thing is, I do not like people to see my weaknesses. So it was very hard for me to come out that I, was going through this. I wanted no one to know the history of my life, including myself, because, that's just something, a Scorpio, I guess I'm a Scorpio, that it's one of their natures, I don't like people to see my weakness, but I'm glad, because my weaknesses, correct me if I'm wrong, become your strength.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Throughout everything, and then when you conquer one thing, that you can do it. So
Absolutely.
And one of the things that you was just talking about with your kids. So I listened to a podcast that you did a year or so ago, and it was brought up in that podcast that, if you've got a parent that all he does or all she does is sit on the couch and plays video games all the time, what do you think your kids are going to do?
Oh, absolutely.
So as the kids get older, if they start realizing their parents are drinking too much or doing drugs or whatever, I mean, how can you get upset if they start doing it? I mean, really, can you? Because they're following your footsteps,
Right.
right?
Right. Nope. And it makes it really hard. Again, it's one of those things that, going back to just the world that we live in, it's not an easy world, right?
Yeah.
It's all around. They're, whether the kids are subjected by their parents or they're subjected by outsources. The biggest thing is being that strong suit, that strong support, and to know that at the end of the day, no matter how something can grasp us in any form of addiction, that we have a choice. At the very end of it, we have a choice, and sometimes, that choice gets overpowered by that source of what's going on, and there is no control. And it does take a lot to say no, and that goes into talking about the dark parts of my life and dark parts of where it went, coming up to that line of, am I going to let this just take me over, would it be so bad? You know what I mean? Times that I'm like, if my car didn't make that turn properly, would I be all right? Things that go through your mind. That, but then it comes back and again, it's like, no, JD, you're here for a reason. You're here to show your kids this example. You're here to make this difference. And that goes with something that's really important to me is there's two most important days of people's lives. And the one is the day that you're born and the day that you find out why you're here.
Yes.
Right? And
I love it.
Making a difference to people and stuff, that's being in that dark moment. That was always, whether the light was bouncing around in the room, I was trying to go towards it. You know what I mean? So it's like it didn't just one straight tunnel. Hey, walk towards the light, you'll be all right. But always keeping that things are going to be better. And talking about things too, things like how I've, in those dark moments, this sounds bad, but, I always wasn't the best with money. So that's something I've had to get better at. But when I was going through a hard time, I would go out and do something stupid, like go buy me like a pair of shoes, But I didn't like this one pair of shoes, or I wanted both these pairs of shoes, so I was like, I just buy them both, Like, that's just how it was. But, like, I mean, that, I guess, would be, like, a way that I kind of sovereigned myself, was to go out and, I mean, it sounds like something a girl would go do, but no, JD would go shopping, and get stuff.
You're not alone, buddy, and ask my wife, because I think I enjoy shopping more than her. Now, but we're a little different. I don't go and look around. If I know what I want, I just go in there and it's done. I get it. So.
No, it's really bad. There's times of stuff, but as I've gotten older, I'm like, I don't light my wallet on fire. But back then, I was like, burn it up, payday, let's go, and it was like, because it was one of those things, like, of doing things for myself, and then I went through a period and stuff, too, and I've recently done this where I've had to correct myself, but it's also, too, like, again, giving up everything. It seems like it was a moment of going through that was because I always told myself no, that I don't deserve that, or no, your family might need this, or they might need that, or you got to bail this person out, or whatever the case may be. So then when I had those moments, I was like, no, I need it. But you tell yourself no for a long time, and I've caught myself telling myself no. Even if it's something I truly need. At like a point, I mean, I had pants that had holes blown out in the crotch and stuff. I'm like, all right, this is probably a good time that I have to do this.
I do the same thing. But I'll wait till a shirt has holes or something. I don't go buy the most expensive things. With having the boyfriend I have right now, who is the light of my life, I don't deserve him. Sometimes that's how I feel. But, he gets online, he goes shopping for me and gets me all this stuff. And I'm like, but I'm thankful for it. You know what I mean? Because he says, you deserve the best. And that's what you need to know, so...
I wish the IRS felt the same way.
Yeah. Was there something else you were going to say there, Lori? I didn't want to interrupt you.
Well, yeah, because I found this little thing that before I came here, and I just wanted
Didn't you know that was part of our rules, is not playing on cell phones while we were doing a show?
Well, yeah, okay, but it's the only way I could save it was to my pictures, so let me there's this thing, because I wanted to ask him, we've been talking along these lines, so here it is. God pulled you out of the pit so you could go back in and get more people out. Never forget that.
Yeah. Okay. I'd say that resonates very heavily. So,
that is pretty deep.
Going with that, I don't believe everybody here, we all have our different challenges that we have to face. We all have our problems we have to face, right? I don't believe for a second that God gives us those challenges because we can't or we're not able to handle them. Right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to dig really deep for that strength. And it's not just about muscle strength. It's about having a heart. It's about love. It's about gratitude. It's about your mind, being able to take those thoughts and control them. Because, with the amount of thoughts that we process every day, you can't control all of them. It's physically impossible. But, being able to slow down and to focus on those issues and the problems that arise, and knowing that you do have the strength, that he's given you that challenge and he knows that you can take it and that you can handle it and that you're going to overcome it and not, just
One
like
thing
you
was
have.
scary to me because how I felt was I didn't want to lose my personality. I didn't want to lose certain things about myself. And I felt like going through all the changes that I did and the time that I took to do that, I somehow felt it was going to change the good things about me too.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not true. Like, those always come valiantly, radiantly through every single time. So the gifts you were given will stay with you. So if you're making a change, I don't want people to get discouraged thinking you're going to lose that part of yourself, because there's special things we've all been born with.
Yeah.
With whether you've, have an addiction or not, or been through all these things, those are what pull you through. You just
Right.
don't understand that.
Well, they
until,
get stronger.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, really.
Mhm.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
actually, whatever it is that you don't want to lose or that you're afraid of losing, like you just said, you're not going to lose it. It actually becomes stronger. So it's our fear that is keeping us from that,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So talking on fear, going back to dark sides and stuff, and this goes into what I was talking about being able to let go. It talks about fear is just a word, right?
Mhm.
That's all it is. Fear is just a word. What caused that fear is the real problem. Not that you're scared of that you've got that problem there that caused what is, I'm not an English major, so what is fear? Is it an adjective or a...
Fear is the biggest elephant in the room. You don't need a major for that.
Right. But that's
The definition is that's the biggest elephant in the room, your fear.
Mm-hmm.
Right? What your personal fears, Al's personal fears, mine, anyone's.
Yeah.
Talking yourself down off the ledge off of those. Sometimes it's just a matter of someone said something negative to you, like, oh, you'll never be that, or you could never do that. But if someone gives me a challenge, I'm going to
Right.
go to the other side.
Well, just
The
like
other
that,
side
like
of
you
that.
said, I've had people tell me that I'd never amount to anything or be successful like I want,
Same.
and it is sometimes, like pushing through because we all have that mindset, like, no, I'm going to prove you wrong, especially in those moments, like with you and the addiction, and Al, again, being there to help your wife and do, and to want to help other people, people come and say, at points they'll be like, oh, you're not going to be successful, or are you sure, like, you should just probably go get a regular 9 to 5 or whatever the case
Yeah.
may be, you know what I mean? And it's like you want to so bad prove them wrong, and then you have these hiccups and these bumps that happen in your road, and then you start questioning yourself. That's another one that's really bad in either side when you're battling addictions or battling things in life, is you have that, like, maybe they're right. Maybe maybe I'm the one that's crazy, for thinking this. And the end of it, again, you talk about having your gifts, right? That we're all born with, that become and develop as we get older. That's a bunch of BS.
Yeah.
No, you're meant to prosper again. You're meant to move forward. You're meant to be able to help. You're meant to beat those addictions. You have the power inside you.
Yeah,
And-
life's not over. You can get through anything, and it doesn't matter how old you are. And I'm glad the fear thing came up, because before you go, I want to share something. So, when my wife was battling really deep with her alcoholism, I remember pointing my finger at her in anger, telling her, I don't even know how many times, probably dozens and dozens of times, that you don't want to get sober. You don't want to get sober. You don't want to get sober. And I remember her saying, yes, I do. And I'm like, no, you don't, because you continue to go through that. That was my fear. And it didn't dawn on me till you guys just started talking about that. So it was my fear that she wasn't. I was putting the blame on her, but it was my fear that she wasn't going to beat this thing.
So here's a little thing I'd like to interject. It's none of your business what anybody else thinks about you.
Well, yeah, we know.
Right?
Yeah, we
No,
know that.
I mean,
my wife
just-
and I talked about that last night.
Hey, no matter what, like, it doesn't matter if it's who it is, it helps you. I use that in my daily life, because if I worried about all the naysayers. You're going to have people who are jealous, people who are different things. They don't have the best intentions for your life always, right? But you know who does. So what I'm saying is, if you use that, if you say it's none of my business what anyone else thinks, that fear, the big elephant, kind of, he starts to race it. Maybe his trunk will go out, maybe his big old ears will go out, and then he's got the big butt. You know, you got to get rid of some of
I'd
that.
start at the butt. That's where I'd start. All right, guys, we're going to take another quick break. I love the subjects that we're talking about. And again, JD, thank you so much for being here with us. But we're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back.
Hi, this is Tamara K. Anderson, and I want to share something special with you. When our son Nathan was diagnosed with autism, I felt like the life we had expected for him was ripped away, and with it, my own heart shattered as well. It's very common for families to feel anger, pain, confusion, and anxiety when a child is diagnosed. This is where my book, Normal for Me, comes into play. It shares my story of learning to replace my pain with acceptance, peace, joy, and hope. Normal for Me has helped change many lives, and I'd like to give this book to as many families as possible. We put together something I think is really special. My friends and listeners can order copies of my book at a significantly discounted price, and we will send them to families who have just had a child diagnosed with autism or another special needs diagnosis. We will put your name inside the cover so they will know someone out there loves them and wants to help. I will also sign each copy. You can order as little as one or as many as hundreds to be shared with others. So go to my website, tamarakanderson.com, and visit the store section for more information and to place your order. You can bless the lives of many families by sending them hope, love, and peace. Check it out today at tamarakanderson.com and help me spread hope to the world.
Welcome to the Resilience Talk Network. My name is Jay Walter, and I'm the host of Rebuilding, heard every weekday night from 6 to 7 p.m. You can listen in and learn how to face your fears, overcome obstacles, and make dreams a reality. So listen every weekday night from 6 to 7 p.m. right here on the Resilience Talk Network.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. I am proud to announce that we just landed another sponsor. I got the chicken skin this time, yeah, or the goosebumps. So Surf Pro West Jordan, who is basically standing for all the surf pros across the valley from Ogden all the way down to St. George, they just came in as another one of our sponsors. They love what we are all about and what we are trying to do here. So I just want to give a big shout out to Brad and his wife and his son, who are also co-owners, and all their employees, all the surf pros around the valley. Thank you so much for your sponsorship.
Absolutely.
We are so grateful for you because, guys, our sponsors are the ones that's helping us make all this possible and keep this thing going. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts. So Lori, take it away. I'm going to let you take off with this one.
Well, what I was saying was that all of us should, take note that it's none of our business what anybody thinks about us, and fear can take us down. It can take us down so many roads, the naysayers like we were talking about before. Mm-hmm. And you just have to stay strong and understand that really if you can implement that one little saying into your life, it's none of your business what anybody else thinks about you. I mean, it's pretty phenomenal, actually. Would you agree? Or
I would, especially being in the industry that I am, and I know this kind of goes off of that, but And I've come really strong to that, especially over the last few years, because, I mean, people had to ask what I do for a living. Honestly, I just hustle, so that's what I have to do. But,
Yeah.
you know, being in sales and that directly, no offense, opinions aren't going to pay my bills.
Me too. I'm in sales.
So that's the reality of it, is their opinions aren't going to, you know, pay the bills. They're not going to keep the lights on. And on top of that, you know, once they start doing it, maybe I'll take it a little more serious. But that's what it is it's an opinion, you know. Let's have facts and stuff. And again, it's just one of those things. You're talking about, like, people want to give their opinion. They want to, you know, people don't necessarily want to see your success. That, you know, it comes down to the saying, misery loves company, right? And it's true, it does, you know. And if there's people out there that they don't want to see you doing better than them, because it makes them feel worse about themselves, and they don't want to feel that. So if they can put it on you,
Yeah,
you know,
that's exactly right.
that's what'll happen. And
I've
so
kind of learned this because it's been interesting throughout my life that I have always felt that part of my mission is making people understand what they're good at, their talents, what they have to offer the world, because where we get lost is when we feel we have no purpose in life, you know. And so I have a natural ability to do that, but sometimes, you know, someone second guesses me, and I try not to listen to that. So I try to implement what I've learned into my daily life so I can just kind of block those things out. And sometimes it's just a matter of staying off Facebook for a little while, or just, you know, working through some of the stuff that I need to accomplish to help other people, or to do whatever and to go to the next level. I have several things I'm working on, you know, to help move things forward. So it's just a matter of, you know, don't let someone else's clouds dull your sparkle. I mean,
Yeah,
you gotta
don't
just
let it
sparkle
block your
on.
sun.
Yeah.
So speaking of opinions, and this is kind of a question for you, Lori, but I want you to elaborate on it as well, JD.
yes,
So,
you are beautiful.
oh, thank you. How did you know that was a question?
An opinion.
And I want you to know I did go to Sports Clips before you came on the show. I love it. See, now I forgot what I was going to say, man. He just flattered me. Am I blushing?
Oh, that's good.
Oh my gosh. No, so speaking of opinions, I was always giving opinions to my wife while she was going through her addictions. Did you give opinions to the family members? And Lori, what was it like for other people and family members and friends of yours giving opinions? Because I have really learned throughout all this, my opinions didn't mean shit. And I'm just going to say that. My opinions didn't mean shit because I had no clue what that person was going through. So, I mean, in a way, how dare we, in a way, give our opinions to somebody when we don't even know what battles they're fighting? You know, maybe they need a sword instead of a bow, but we're still trying to give them a sword because we have no clue. I mean, did you find yourself in that same boat? And with some of the things I posted on Facebook, because years ago I started sharing just a little bit about what was going on, and I was getting some people's opinions. And some of their opinions were like, oh, it's all about choice and blah, 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 or this, that, and the other thing. And I would really start thinking about it, and I took everything I had not to respond to those answers. But did you find yourself in that same boat? And then after you go, I'd like Lori to kind of touch on that.
Yeah, I mean, on all ends of it, you know, with my sister and giving the opinion of, it comes to that, giving an opinion or advice, I believe there's a very strong line there, you know, because there's a point that it's an opinion or there's something, and it depends on where it comes from, you know, because I know that you've battled it on that end where you've come from a pure heart and you come at it where you're very calm about it, right? But you also have those moments where you're just like, if you don't freaking change your ways, you're going to end up dead, or our marriage isn't going to last, or you're not going to be a part of my life, you know, or you're going to end up out on the streets, whatever the case may be.
I've said all
you know?
those.
Exactly, you know, and we come out of it. It's not, again, that those are coming from a bad place. You're at a point of frustration because you don't know how to fix the problem, but in your head too, and count it as it's real being an opinion, you know, that is the opinion, but in your eyes, in our eyes, that's how we see, like, if you don't change this, I can see the outcome, right?
Yeah, you're seeing the future.
But you're doing it we're doing it when we have those opinions that way. It's in an attacking matter. It's not in an advisory. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so, like, when you're like, hey, you know, like sitting down with my wife, hey, I love you, and what you're going through, I couldn't understand. Just like you've done with your wife, like you've told me, you know, hey, I don't understand it. I want to be there to help you, you know, but understand too that I have to draw a line. Like, I'm here for your help. What do you need from me?
Well, it took me a long time to get to that point.
This is that boundary. But again, like, we went through those opinions on giving our opinion because, you know, like me, I seen it in other parts of my life already. So I was like, I already know where you're headed. I got the crystal ball because it told me back when I was 17.
Yeah.
You know, so I see right where you're going.
Crystal ball or a snow globe.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and so I could see that, and so giving my opinion, but it'd get to a point where, like, I was so angry, I was so pissed about it that I would never touch a woman ever. Okay, so put that out there. But I would get very angry. I would voice my opinion. I would yell. I would be frustrated. You know, at a point that I feel like I'm just beating my head against the wall. And being that way, the way that I got reciprocated was like, well, if he's gonna be angry about it, or I'm gonna get in trouble either way, no matter how he talks to me, I'm just gonna go do it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it was like, you know, I'm playing a losing battle because I'm not getting through to her. I'm just making her more mad. And it's like me telling her, you know how you said either be her husband or be her therapist, right?
Yeah.
Mine, it's been like, you're not my dad, you know? And I'm like, hang on a minute, this is not, you know, like, I'm not trying to come up from your dad, but I'm trying to come from it, like, you need to shape up. And that was the wrong approach. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I would have been, you know, how I would have taken that. I'd take constructive criticism differently. Not that way. I was dealing with a very fragile flower, and stomping on it was not the idea, you know? And so when you talk about that, I think having the opinion of others and dealing with it or pushing it out from ourselves, like I said, opinions don't pay my bills, but also to the opinion, you have to very consciously think about how you word things.
Yeah.
If you word it in a way like, hey, look, I'm concerned, and
this
is what, you know, instead of being like, you need to not do that.
And I like that you said that. So I want Lori to touch base on this because we just did a show. I think it was our second show, or maybe it was our first show.
I don't know.
Where we had Darlene in from Craft Family Support Group. Because you just hit on
touch on communication.
Just changing the way you work things.
Yeah. But for me, like, it took me a while to understand, right? Like, people can have their opinions or say, but nobody knew anything about me besides my family, really. You know what I mean? And so they knew they were struggling through some things. I didn't know they were struggling. Like, for instance, I didn't know my son was an alcoholic because I was so, like, wrapped up in what I was going through and not even understanding it. So at certain times, like, I feel like I didn't even understand how come I'm going through this, or why do I feel this way, or how come, you know, treatment or whatever you go through, right, to help you to get better, why some people fly through, you know, like I did, but it was because I was willing at that point to do it, right, because of so many different other adjectives or whatever could want to come in there to fulfill that. But I feel like the person going through the hard time, the not understanding why, is just another venting spot for me to say, you have to take control of your life from where the problem started. Until you do that, you won't be able to succeed to go on. I don't know if you agree with that or if you would agree, but in my own circumstance, if I would not have been able to have my mind opened up to be able to see why all these things happened and become accountable, hey, I had to say, hey, there's something going on here. I'm picking these choices for a reason, and it's my fault to some conclusion, regardless if I was going through abuse or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, once you're able to do that, and you go through the steps to take care of that, you start to become more healthy. You're understanding your life, where it came from, and you were able to do that by yourself because you saw that you didn't want to go through that. One of my sons went through that as well. He didn't ever want to go down that path. My other son, it was a different story for him.
Right.
You know what I mean? But the person suffering inside, until they realize why they're suffering inside, the true, very beginning or why, the seed of it all, then I don't feel like you can go on.
And I feel
to
like
the next.
with what you're saying too on that, like again, like having those addictions is you bring in, again, the alcohol or the drugs and stuff that will be brought into somebody's life. It's because there's somehow a void got created, and they're using that to fill that instead of other things that they could. But that's where it goes.
Right.
And you were saying something, in the longs of, the making the choices of people don't know and understand because they're not you, right? They don't understand what you're going through. They're not in your mind, right? And that's, again, where on the other side and stuff, those that do care about you, how they approach it, you have to approach it delicately, right?
Yes.
Right? Because it can drive you further off into left field or not,
My family and I went through that, a period of darkness because of it too, because we weren't speaking to each other appropriately. And when we learned how to do that, it changed a lot of things.
And something on that note, if I may share, this is something that was
Please.
another frustrating part about it, but, I'm sure you tried, you want it your way, she wants it, they want it their way, that you finally come to a point you're like, well, I'm going to compromise, right? And you're like, okay, I would do this, but I would hey, if you're going to have some drinks, only drink, socially or, but it was if you take the top off the bottle until the last bottle's gone, we know how this is going, right? You're not going to leave until every last drop, but it's give an inch, take a mile kind of situation. But I always felt too, that was where I kind of had to stand my ground and understand that she's going to make her choices, and whether the consequence is a positive one or a negative one, she will have to deal with on that end, because I couldn't personally keep going down that road. Yeah. But, when they're like, oh, well, I don't understand, and I'm not coming on it, again, I'm grateful for this, but I was like, they'd be like, oh, well, you need to allow her just to let loose and have a couple of drinks. And I was like, do you understand what happens? Yeah. I've got my wife, and then whoever this other lady is that comes out afterwards, I did not marry that person. She doesn't, I didn't invite her in the first place. Yeah. But having that argument, accepting that having a few drinks is okay, and that having, some drugs affiliated or whatever, it's okay. You just need to accept that that's who they are and stuff. And it's I'm glad that's who they want to be. I can't have that anymore, right? Because I'm trying to be there. But having that, I would get so angry. Because, I'd have the conversations with my mother-in-law. She's like, you just need to let her loose. You need to let her have a night of drinking and whatever. And I'm like, do you hear yourself right now? You're asking me to battle against this negative substance and be okay with it. It's like saying, hey, 1 8-ball ain't going to hurt. It's no. It's a serious thing. You don't know. I'm trying to help, And when you have that compromise, too, that's a question for you guys. Where do you draw the line at being able to compromise with someone?
So I'm going to say something right now.
Okay.
So I feel like alcoholism especially has been proven over time. It's a disease just like cancer, just like anything else. When you truly have a form of that, you have your first drink for the very first time. I mean, I didn't know at 14 I was going to be this is the most peaceful I've felt, because I never knew what was going to come at me. A fist, things I don't want, right? So what I'm saying is it's a true disease, right? So when you're dealing with a disease and then you're giving someone, oh, just go have a free night of all of that, right?
You're basically handing it to them, right?
Well, but you say that, and then is it going to continue on through the rest of the week or whatever? Yeah. Now, sometimes we're in a different spot altogether, and it's been years and years, and you think, oh, okay, go ahead, and, and do this. But, we were, I don't feel I'm the same woman I was back then. I've handled the things in my life, that were bothering me, and I went to many people and made apologies and all these different things, and I feel like I'm somewhere different than I was then, but I still have to remember where this took me.
Right.
It took me to a point of, hey, I thought it was okay just to not be alive anymore because I lost my identity, and that's where I let this disease and this progression take me, right? So I don't know, like, am I a different person today, or is that addiction going to just take me down a different road? You know what I mean? So you have to be really careful with that kind of stuff.
Well, and for the... Oh, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, not at all.
And for me, on the other side with that question, JD, so when I was listening to a podcast, it was a podcast I was listening to a couple weeks ago, but the gal that was on it said, how low is your lowest part? And she battled addiction. And she said, I finally realized I just had to put down the shovel. I had to stop digging. And for me, it was that same thing. I had to finally put down that shovel and stop digging, because it wasn't taking me in a good spot either. And I was hoping and praying that once I put that shovel down, the person that I love and care about was going to put that shovel down as well. So that's where it got to the point for me. Because and I shared this, I believe, a couple of weeks ago, but when my wife came back home, about 2 weeks after she had gotten back home, she come up to me and she goes, "You've changed. There's something different about you. You've changed." And I didn't even realize I had changed, but she noticed it. And to have that being said to me by the person who was battling the addiction, that meant a lot to me, because that means she was noticing something that I was doing different. Like, we can't, we go down that rabbit hole. Well, we finally decide, let's get the hell out of this rabbit hole, because I'm done. We're not going to do this anymore. And hopefully that rope or whatever is attached to you where they dragged you down, now you're coming up. You hope to hell that they're coming up with you. So,
right.
But guys, this has been a great show. Thank you again, JD, for being here. I love the topics that we talked about today. Thank you for sharing your story. I'm gonna put you on the spot here right at the very end of this show, and I'm gonna ask this because I was asked this on a podcast that I was on just the other night, and I thought, this is so flippin' awesome. I'm gonna use it. So I've got it written down. What gift did you receive from the darkest times that you have gone through with your family and your wife? And
I think the biggest thing is courage, to be honest.
Courage. Wow.
So courage and heart, love, gratitude. I mean, it all kind of combines into one.
Yeah.
But, I have to have self-love, because there's times I didn't love myself, but also, to love the person no matter what they're going through. But that takes courage to accept it.
I love that one.
It does take courage to accept it. So,
courage.
Mine's peace.
Peace.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Peace in my life.
Mine was forgiveness when I asked that.
Mm-hmm.
It was forgiveness. Guys, again, thank you for being here. For those of you listening, thank you for following the other side of addiction. Lori and I are so grateful for all you that are supporting us. Also want to say thank you to Brad at Resilience Talk Network. I mean, again, this wouldn't be going on either. We have our sponsors, but this wouldn't happen
I
without.
love Brad.
Yeah, I think we all do, and
especially my hugs at the end.
Yeah.
I'm a hugger.
I'll even accept that. It's like hugging a teddy bear for me, Now Brad's blushing. Yeah. Hey guys, stay tuned next week. We've got another great show. So next week is special. It was a day that Lori wasn't here. She had a family emergency that she had to take care of. So you were definitely missed on this episode. But it was really special for me because my wife joined us on this episode. But next week we're going to talk about the difference between privately ran rehabs or privately funded rehabs and state fund rehabs. Did I say that right, Brad?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, close enough. So there is a difference. So guys, stay tuned next week because we get in some pretty deep topics. And what's nice about it with my wife being with us, because she's been in both. So she can share a little bit more of her experience as well. So again, thank you everybody. Thank you to all our sponsors, High Point Coffee, Lift Up Concrete, and our newest one, Serve Pro and Resilience Talk Network. Thank you.
Also, we're here reaching people out of the darkness into the light always.
Yes.
And so just want to keep that on a positive note.
And this is where I'll end it, and then you guys can applaud. Remember, addiction is giving up everything for one thing. Recovery is giving up one thing for everything. Cut.